Put down whatever you're doing and listen to me, Steve. I'm standing in your son's basement right now, and if the police show up before you do, Robert and Natasha are going to federal prison. The voice on the other end of the line wasn't just shaking, it was fracturing. It belonged to Gary, a guy I'd known for over 20 years, a master plumber who had seen the absolute worst structural disasters imaginable without blinking. But right now, he sounded like he was standing over a mutilated corpse. "Gary, slow down," I shouted, gripping the edge of my workbench so hard my knuckles turned white. "What are you talking about?" "Robert and Natasha are in Dubai for a 2-week corporate retreat. They asked me to let you in to fix the main water line because it was backing up into the foundation." "I know where they are, Steve. They're sitting in a 5-star hotel drinking champagne while they leave a human being locked in a cage behind their commercial furnace. You need to get here right now? Before I call the sheriff, you need to see what your son did." The line went dead with a sharp, violent click. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I didn't grab a jacket. I didn't lock my workshop. I just threw myself into my truck and slammed my foot onto the gas pedal. I tore down the winding roads of our town, running 2 consecutive red lights, because the sheer terror in Gary's voice was a warning flare I couldn't ignore. Robert was my only son. Natasha was the glamorous, hyper-ambitious digital marketing strategist he had married 3 years ago. To the rest of the world, they were the ultimate power couple. They lived in the beautiful, 4-bedroom brick estate that I had built with my own hands, and gifted to them rent-free so they could establish their careers. On social media, their life was a flawless exhibition of wealth, fine dining, and endless luxury travel. Natasha's online brand was built on the concept of mindful luxury and high society aesthetics. But as I spun my truck into their manicured driveway, that polished facade shattered into a million jagged pieces. Gary was pacing on the front porch, his face the color of skim milk. His hands shook so violently he could barely hold his lit cigarette. "Steve, thank God," he breathed, grabbing my shoulder. "I didn't want to call the cops until you saw it, out of respect for your career. But this is a sickness. This is straight up evil. What is down there, Gary? Speak to me," I demanded, my own voice rising in pitch. He didn't answer. He just unlocked the front door and led me inside. The upstairs of the house was immaculate. Every piece of furniture was custom-made, imported minimalism. The walls were lined with massive gilded frames showcasing professional photographs of Robert and Natasha. They were smiling on yachts in Monaco, laughing at exclusive galas in New York, posing in front of 5-figure designer storefronts. There wasn't a single photo of me, or of Robert's late mother, or of anyone else. It was an altar to their own vanity. The air smelled of expensive lavender candles and success. But as Gary opened the heavy oak door leading to the basement, the smell changed. It became cold, damp, and heavy with a stale, suffocating odor that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. "They put a digital keypad lock on the basement door last year," Gary whispered as we descended the concrete steps. "Robert told you it was to protect their high-end server equipment for the agency, right?" "Yeah," I replied, a terrible dread pooling in my stomach. "He said they had over $50,000 worth of digital drives down here." "He lied to you, Steve. The main sewage line burst behind the drywall, and the water was flooding the lower level. I had to rip through the paneling to find the shutoff valve. When I broke through the fake wall to reach the pipes, I found a reinforced security door with a deadbolt locked from the outside. The key was hanging on a hook right next to it. I opened it because I thought the leak was coming from inside that room. Gary stopped at the bottom of the stairs and pointed toward the back corner of the basement, past the massive commercial water heaters. A section of the drywall had been cut away, revealing a hidden, windowless room that had been completely sealed off from the rest of the house. "Go look," Gary said, stepping back, his eyes hollow, "because I can't look at him again without throwing up." I walked forward, my boots clicking against the cold concrete. My hands were trembling now. I pushed past the jagged edge of the broken drywall and stepped through the heavy security door. The room was no larger than a standard walk-in closet. It was freezing. The only illumination came from a single, bare bulb hanging from a frayed cord. On the floor was a stained, thin mattress without sheets. In the corner sat a plastic chemical toilet and a small plastic crate containing 3 rows of generic protein bars, jugs of cheap water, and a stack of old magazines from 2021. And there, curled into a tight, shivering ball against the far wall, was a man. He was wearing a tattered gray sweatsuit that hung loosely off his skeletal frame. His skin was translucent, so pale you could trace the blue veins running across his temples. His hair was long, matted, and unevenly hacked off at the shoulders. He was clutching a small, battery-operated plastic fan that wasn't even turned on. When the light from the doorway hit his face, he flinched violently, burying his head in his knees. "Don't hit me," he whispered. His voice was a raspy, dry scrape. I didn't make any noise. I swear I didn't make any noise. Natasha said the microphone upstairs would pick it up. I stayed quiet. The sound of that voice struck me like a physical blow. The room spun. I had to lean against the concrete wall to keep from collapsing. "Julian?" I whispered. The young man slowly raised his head. His eyes were wide, bloodshot, and filled with a profound, animalistic terror. He blinked against the light, squinting at me for 3 agonizing seconds before his lower lip began to tremble. "Uncle Steve?" he breathed. My lungs completely emptied. Julian was my late sister's only son. He was 22 years old. 2 years ago, after his mother passed away from a sudden illness, Julian, who suffered from severe developmental delays and a profound social anxiety disorder, was supposed to be living in a specialized, high-end residential care facility in Vermont. Robert and Natasha had volunteered to handle all the paperwork. They told me they had found a beautiful 5-acre estate up north, where Julian would receive 24-hour medical supervision and specialized therapy. They told me it cost $7,000 a month, which was completely covered by the massive inheritance and life insurance policy my sister had left behind for him. For 24 months, every time I asked to visit Julian, Natasha would make an excuse. She would tell me he was in a highly restrictive quarantine due to his fragile immune system, or that his therapists advised against family visits because it triggered his regression. They would put me on the phone with him occasionally, but the calls were always brief, and Natasha was always right there, claiming Julian was too tired to speak for long. They didn't send him to Vermont. They had locked a 22-year-old vulnerable adult in a secret room in my own basement for 2 solid years. "Julian," I choked out, dropping to my knees on the dirty floor. I didn't care about the smell. I didn't care about anything else. I reached out and pulled his frail, shivering body into my arms. He weighed almost nothing. I could feel every single rib through his shirt, sharp and prominent like a row of stones. "Uncle Steve, you found me?" he sobbed, burying his face into my shoulder. His hands clutched at my flannel shirt with a desperate, terrifying strength. Natasha said if I ever walked up the stairs, the bad men would take me away. She said this was my safe room. She said I had to stay here while they went on their business trips so I wouldn't ruin the company. My mind went entirely blank with rage. The sheer, calculated cruelty of it washed over me. Robert and Natasha hadn't just hidden him. They had systematically erased him. They had constructed an entire alternate reality to exploit a helpless young man. I stood up, lifting Julian entirely off the floor. He clung to me like a drowning man. "Gary!" I roared, walking out of the hidden room. "Call 911 right now. Tell them we have a case of aggravated kidnapping, human endangerment, and severe adult neglect. Tell them to send an ambulance and the sheriff's department immediately." Gary didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone and started shouting into the receiver. I carried Julian up the basement stairs, out of the darkness, and into the blinding luxury of the living room. I sat him down on the pristine, $3,000 white leather sofa. He looked completely out of place, a ghost sitting in a museum of modern vanity. I went to the kitchen, bypassing all of Natasha's expensive organic meal prep containers, and found some bread and peanut butter. I made 3 sandwiches and poured a massive glass of milk. Julian ate with a feral, heartbreaking urgency, shoving the food into his mouth as if he expected someone to rip it away from him at any second. Within 15 minutes, the quiet neighborhood was flooded with flashing red and blue lights. 2 patrol cars and an ambulance tore up the driveway. The lead investigator was Detective Miller, a seasoned, sharp-eyed cop who had worked corporate fraud and abuse cases for a decade. He took one look at Julian, then looked at the basement, and his face turned into a mask of pure stone. The paramedics immediately wrapped Julian in warm blankets, checking his vitals. The preliminary medical assessment was sickening. Julian was suffering from profound vitamin D deficiency, severe muscle atrophy in his lower legs from being confined to a small space, advanced dental decay that had gone completely untreated, and he was nearly 40 pounds underweight. While the forensics team went down into the basement with cameras and evidence bags, Detective Miller sat with me at the dining room table. "Steve, I need you to understand how deep this goes," Miller said, opening a file on his laptop. "We just did a quick preliminary check on Julian's legal status. Your son, Robert, was granted full legal guardianship and executorship over his aunt's estate 2 years ago. The inheritance total was exactly $850,000, held in a trust meant exclusively for Julian's specialized medical care and living expenses. Where did the money go?" I asked, my voice deadly quiet. Miller sighed, turning the screen toward me. In the last 24 months, there have been 0 payments to any care facility in Vermont. Instead, there have been massive, recurring monthly withdrawals. $40,000 for a down payment on a luxury sports car. $70,000 transferred directly into Natasha's digital marketing business account. Over $100,000 spent on international luxury travel, including their current 2-week stay at a private villa in Dubai. They were funding their entire lifestyle, using the money meant to keep this young man alive and safe. They starved him so they could buy a brand, I whispered, staring at the screen. They kept him in a hole so they could take pictures on a yacht. Exactly, Miller said. And because the house is legally in your name, they managed to keep social services from ever doing a routine check here. They listed a fake address on their tax returns for Julian's dependency status. This wasn't a mistake, Steve. This was a highly organized, long-term operation to exploit a disabled adult for financial gain. I stood up from the table, walked out to the front porch, and stared at the beautiful yard. The anger inside me had burned away, leaving behind a cold, clinical determination. I knew exactly what I had to do. My son was a monster. The woman he married was a parasite, and I was going to systematically dismantle their lives until there was nothing left but ashes. I pulled out my phone. It was currently 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In Dubai, it was midnight. I dialed Robert's number. He answered on the 3rd ring. His voice sounded groggy, annoyed, and completely detached. "Hey, Dad, what's going on? It is the middle of the night here. Did Gary fix the water leak?" "The leak is fixed, Robert," I said, keeping my voice perfectly level, completely devoid of emotion. "But we found the room." There was a sudden, freezing silence on the other end of the line. I could hear the faint sound of shifting bed sheets, and then the hurried, hushed whispering of Natasha in the background. What room are you talking about, Dad?" Robert stammered, trying to laugh it off. "The server room? I told you, we have high security drives down there for the agency." "Shut your mouth," I interrupted, my voice cutting through his lie like a razor blade. "I am standing in your living room right now. Detective Miller is sitting at your dining table. The forensic unit is currently taking photographs of the cage you built for Julian. They are measuring the distance between his mattress and his chemical toilet. They are documenting the matted hair, the starvation, and the plastic crate of protein bars you left him to survive on while you fly first class across the world." "Steve!" Natasha's voice suddenly screamed into the speaker, ripping the phone away from Robert. "Listen to me. You don't understand the situation. Julian is unstable. He has violent episodes. We put him down there for his own safety because he can't handle the outside world. We were protecting him. If you let the police involve themselves in this, you are going to destroy our business. We have corporate sponsors. We have an image to maintain. You will ruin everything we've built." "You built a prison on my land, Natasha," I roared back, the fury finally breaking through my composure. "You used my sister's death to fund your disgusting vanity. You starved a boy who trusted you. You didn't protect him. You hid him because he didn't fit into your pathetic online brand." "Dad, please." Robert's voice was crying now, begging, completely stripped of his usual arrogance. "Don't do this to us. We can fix this. We can move him to a real facility tomorrow. We'll pay for it. Just tell the cops it was a family misunderstanding. If I go to jail, my life is over." "Your life is already over, Robert," I said, every word dripping with absolute finality. "Listen to me very carefully. Do not bother returning to this house. The locks are being changed by a professional locksmith in exactly 10 minutes. Every single piece of furniture, every designer suit, and every gold-framed photograph you own is being thrown into an industrial dumpster on the curb tomorrow morning." "Steve, you can't legally do that," Natasha shrieked. "I own the deed to this property, you miserable snake," I snapped. "You are tenants under investigation for felony human trafficking, severe adult abuse, and grand larceny. The state of North Carolina has already frozen your domestic bank accounts. If you try to board a plane back to this state, there will be federal marshals waiting for you at the gate. If you have any money left in your pockets, you better spend it on a criminal defense lawyer, because I am going to use every single dime of my own retirement savings to ensure you both spend the next 20 years staring at a prison wall." I slammed the phone down, terminating the call. My hands were shaking, but my mind was completely clear. The next 9 months were a brutal, public, and unyielding warfare. Robert and Natasha hired a high-priced corporate defense attorney who tried every disgusting trick in the book. They claimed Julian was consenting to live in the basement. They claimed that his developmental delays made him prefer small, enclosed spaces. They tried to paint me as an unhinged, vengeful father who was trying to steal his son's marketing agency. But they didn't realize who they were dealing with. I spent my entire career as a project manager for industrial construction. I knew how to document every single detail. I worked alongside Detective Miller and a brilliant prosecutor named Margaret. Together, we built an ironclad mountain of evidence that could not be disputed. We presented the financial records, showing that Natasha had spent $12,000 on cosmetic procedures at a luxury clinic using Julian's trust account within the same week that Julian had lost 4 pounds of body mass. We presented the digital forensics from Natasha's social media accounts, proving that she had recorded a live-streamed sponsored video about peaceful living in the kitchen directly above the basement, while Julian was pressing his face against a cold water pipe downstairs to keep from fainting from the heat. The turning point came when the judge, a formidable woman named Honorable Evelyn Vance, reviewed the video evidence of the hidden room. She watched the footage of the deadbolt locked from the outside and the generic protein bars. During the final sentencing hearing, Robert sat at the defense table, his head bowed, sobbing like a child. Natasha looked completely hollow, her expensive hair unwashed, her designer clothes replaced by a cheap gray blazer. Their agency had collapsed within 48 hours of the initial news report. Every single sponsor had dropped them. Their followers had turned on them with a collective, righteous fury that wiped their digital footprint off the face of the earth. Judge Vance didn't show a single ounce of mercy. "In my 30 years on the bench," she said, her voice echoing through the silent courtroom, "I have rarely witnessed a case of such profound, systemic depravity. You did not lock this young man away out of panic or poverty. You did it out of sheer, unadulterated greed. You treated a vulnerable member of your own family as a hidden piece of human waste while you paraded your stolen wealth across the globe. You starved him while you ate caviar." She sentenced Natasha to 12 years in a maximum security state prison for felony adult abuse, intentional human confinement, and corporate fraud. Robert, due to his direct violation of his legal fiduciary duties as a guardian, was sentenced to 15 years without the possibility of early parole. As they were led away in handcuffs, Robert turned to look at me, his eyes begging for some sign of forgiveness. I didn't blink. I didn't move a muscle. I watched my own son get dragged through the heavy metal doors of the courthouse, and I felt absolutely nothing but relief. He wasn't my son anymore. He was just a criminal who had finally received his invoice from justice. I sold the brick estate on Linden Avenue less than a month later. I couldn't stand the sight of the driveway, let alone the front porch. I took the entire profit from the sale and bought a beautiful, sun-drenched, 3-bedroom cottage nestled in the mountains, surrounded by acres of open pine woods and wild streams. The property is entirely in Julian's name now. It has been a year and a half since that horrific Sunday afternoon. Julian is 24 now. He has gained 45 pounds of healthy muscle. His skin is tan from spending hours sitting on the back porch, watching the birds and working on his woodwork projects. I've been teaching him how to sand pine blocks and build birdhouses, just like my father taught me. His hands aren't shaking anymore. He goes to a local adult community center 3 days a week, where he has made actual, real friends. They play board games, they go bowling, and they treat him with the dignity and respect he deserved his entire life. The transformation hasn't been easy. For the first 6 months, Julian couldn't sleep without a light on in the hallway, and if he heard a loud noise upstairs, he would immediately drop to the floor and apologize for being loud. It broke my heart every single time. But with intensive therapy, a safe home, and unconditional love, those ghosts are slowly fading into the background. Last night, we were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset over the mountains. Julian was finishing up a wooden birdhouse, painting it a bright, vibrant yellow. "Uncle Steve?" he said, without looking up from his work. "Yeah, buddy?" I asked, sipping my coffee. "I like the color yellow," he said softly, a genuine smile breaking across his face. Natasha always told me that bright colors were too loud for the aesthetic. She said everything had to be gray or white. But I think yellow looks like the sun. "It does look like the sun, Julian," I replied, swallowing the lump in my throat. "And you can paint every single thing in this world yellow if you want to. Nobody is ever going to tell you what color your life has to be again." He nodded, completely satisfied with that answer, and went back to his painting. People in town sometimes ask me if I regret what I did. They ask me how I could live with myself, knowing that my own son is sitting in a cold concrete cell because I called the police. They wonder how a father could completely destroy his own bloodline for the sake of a nephew. I look them straight in the eye, and I tell them the exact same thing every single time. My family wasn't destroyed the day the police arrived. My family was destroyed the day my son decided that a human life was worth less than a luxury vacation. I didn't tear my family apart. I just refused to let the innocent remain buried under the foundation. I spent my whole career building structures that were meant to last, ensuring every pillar was strong and every foundation was secure. But the most important project of my entire life didn't require concrete or steel. It just required me to open a locked door, reach into the dark, and pull a good man back into the light. I'm just glad I was paying attention when the call came through. If you're reading this right now, do me one favor. Look at the people around you. Don't just look at what they show you on their screens. And don't believe the polished stories they tell at dinner parties. Pay attention to the silence. Pay attention to the relatives who suddenly disappear from family gatherings, or the people whose lives seem a little too perfect to be real. The world is full of hidden rooms, and the only thing that opens them is someone who refuses to look away. Be that person. And if you want to know what happened when Robert tried to send me a letter from the state penitentiary last month, begging me to visit him before his first transfer, and exactly how I responded to his attorney, let me know. Because that is a whole different chapter of this reckoning, and I am more than ready to share it. Good night from the mountains. Take care of the ones who can't take care of themselves, and never let anyone tell you that silence is peace.